Pisces, Amanda here. Welcome to Unseen Hands Healing. This is going to be your November shift reading. So we are taking the deep dive, shifting into Scorpio season here, and we have the pleasure of a Mercury retrograde in Scorpio. So this is really a time for reflection, review, rethinking things. So my usual shift monthly shift readings look at the shape you're shifting out of, the shape you're shifting into, and what that shift looks like. This time, Scorpio season, since we're going into the depths, I'm looking at what is coming up from the underworld for you and how is that shifting you over the course of the season. We're going to use the Mary L. Tarot. But before we get into pulling cards, I want to share with you the story that came to mind when I meditated on your energy. And for some reason, I was really resistant to telling you this story. I don't know why. I was just like, no, that can't be it. That's too macabre. It's too grim. But no matter what, I just kept asking for different images or different ways to say what that's trying to get at. And they just kept showing me basically the same thing. So I think I need to say it. You know that scary story that sort of follows the same theme of the Psyche Eros myth? Psyche and Eros? It's this story that goes something, it's the red ribbon. It goes some, it's a bit grim fairy tales, but it goes something like a man asked a woman to marry him and she always had a red ribbon tied around her neck. And he said, why do you have that red ribbon around your neck? And she said, this ribbon must never be removed from my neck. That's just all she would ever answer him. And he was like, okay, well, I love you and I accept you as you are, and so I want to marry you. So they married and they lived a happy life. She had a baby, all of the thing, and every year he would always ask her, why do you keep the red ribbon around your neck? And she would always just say, it can never be removed from my neck. And then one day he got sick of it, and while she was sleeping, decided he wanted to know once and for all why she had to have that red ribbon around her neck. And he pulled on the strings of the ribbon, one final tug to undo the knot, and her head fell off. Okay, I know. But it reminds me, and then I heard, mama had a baby and her head popped off. Did you ever do that when you were a kid? Sort of this macabre kid shit, I would take a dandelion head and pop off the dandelion head and say that. But it reminded me of the Psyche Eros myth, which is essentially Psyche's the most beautiful woman in the land, and Eros loved her so much, but Aphrodite was jealous. And he begged to for her to let him marry Psyche. And she said, okay, under these conditions, she can never see your face. And so she orchestrated this whole thing so that Psyche believed that she was marrying a beast. But at night, he would come to her and they would have these beautiful, intimate, tender times. It's just that she could never see his face. That was the rule. And so it was always under cover of darkness. And she, she had never been happier in her life. She was so satisfied by this relationship. Everything was really great, except she couldn't see his face. And curiosity got the best of her one night, due to the gaggle of her sisters being like, what if he's going to kill you? You should kill him first, putting all sorts of fear into her head. And so she went, and that night she broke the deal. And she took an oil lamp and she removed whatever covering, and she saw his face, and she saw that it was the beautiful god Eros. And that broke the deal. And then she basically went to Aphrodite and bawled about it. And Aphrodite was like, okay, I will let you win him back, but you have to do all this crazy shit first. Now you have to do penance, basically. You have to go to the underworld. You have to get me this box. She just made her do all of this stuff because she violated the contract. Listen, Pisces, I don't know why this is coming up for you, and I swear we do get to cards in these readings, okay? Thanks for hanging in with me. But my hunch is it has something to do with like violating agreements. Either like you are wanting to push past the boundaries that have been clearly set in some sort of relationship situation or some sort of situation, or someone else is trying to push past boundaries that have been clearly set by you. That's a hunch. Let's see what the cards have to say. So, happy Halloween, people. Spooky season. We're starting off by asking what's coming up from the underworld for Pisces. What is coming up? That was fast. Interesting. The World, some sort of really big ending and total new beginning. This is what's coming up from the unconscious realm, up from the depths. This is what Scorpio season is dredging up for you to see, reflect on, review. It's the biggest ending in the tarot. Something coming to an end, a huge cycle coming to an end. Maybe a cycle that has to do with boundaries being violated. I don't know. Let's see. How is this energy, the world, shifting Pisces in the month of November in Scorpio season? Two more cards, please. Great. Interesting, Pisces. What is up? Okay, so I'm going to show you what I'm looking at, so you can see what I see. This is the whole spread, okay? We've got the world coming up from the underworld, coming up from the underbelly here. And then we've got strength, Six of Cups, and the Ace of Cups. And I wanted you to see this. It's important because, to me, what's coming up from the underworld is then influencing this card directly above it here with the Six of Cups. That is this energy of almost cracking the surface, something rising up from the depths to break the surface of the water. And interesting, this Cancer energy with the crab claws is talking to me about boundaries again. Cancer energy, the defender of the crab shell, you know? Cancer will defend their crab shell, defend their boundaries once they realize what they are, you know? Interesting. The Six of Cups traditionally in the tarot talks about the past. Relationships from the past, connections from the past, emotional energy that has to do with the past. Maybe perhaps ways you've gone about being in relationships in the past, and now suddenly you're rising up to the surface now after this deep dive into your past, rising up to the surface now with fresh boundaries, with the ability to honor boundaries and keep boundaries for yourself. Really like defend your own boundaries, which is really interesting. And that seems to be the cycle that's ending. No more heads popping off. Okay, whether you are the one taking off the ribbon or you are the one trying to keep the ribbon on, either role you are playing or have played in relationships, this cycle of boundaries being violated, frankly, is coming to an end. And we have the Strength card here, the Lion. Okay, it's asking, it's meeting the beast with compassion, with understanding. This beast coming out between the legs of this person. Really interesting. This is very much having to do with romantic connections, in my opinion. that's the energy coming through, is like, frankly, you know, this doesn't normally talk to me about this, but it is for you today. This is talking about sex. It's talking about the way that sex and boundaries and the murky lines that can happen there come up in relationships for you. And you're being asked to meet yourself and others and the things that you fear, you know, the beasts that go bump in the night or whatever, the things we fear about ourselves, the things we fear to face about ourselves. Face that fear with compassion, you know, invite that beast to the dinner table, make a plate. You know, it'll only grow bigger the more it stays in hiding. So there is something here about, you know, when the Strength card comes out, it can talk about a trying time, a difficult time, something that this is all, you know, facing the past in this way and dealing with this violation of boundaries, however that's showing up for you. It's been difficult. It has required great strength of you to really see this and work through this and now come up to the surface. It looks like this one has been holding their breath for all of this time, and now they're about to crack the surface of this, about to end the cycle here, Pisces, and begin, you know, this is the biggest ending in the tarot, and when you get to the end, you start back over at the beginning, which is then what we see here with the Ace of Cups, which is just so beautiful to see for you here in this story, in what feels like a time of facing some pretty macabre stuff. You know, it's also interesting that that we've got the Six of Cups here, which often talks about childhood, like things that are still with us from childhood, or things that have been imprinted on us due to the way that we were brought up. And there's something here about the fact that story that came to me is one of like a story that children tell on Halloween, you know, like all of these. And then the dandelion thing was very much childhood story. It seems to me like you're parting ways with things that you bring into relationships that are like hanging on since childhood. You're finally cracking the surface of this with newfound strength to create and defend boundaries for yourself and honor boundaries in others. And that's just ending a huge cycle for you and beginning something totally brand new when it comes to emotions and the heart and yeah, love. Ace of Cups. Raw potential for new beginning. You know, we got that replenished. I'm seeing this as like a shell cracking open. Something new here. It's like you can open in new ways when you trust that your boundaries are not going to be violated. When you know that that person's not going to take that ribbon off your neck because you've asked them not to. Then you can crack open. Or when this person that you are in partnership trusts that you are not going to take that ribbon off of their neck, you know, just to keep both roles in the story here, then they will begin to crack open. You show them that you will honor their boundaries. Whichever role you're playing here, you know, pick your place. Really interesting, Pisces. Let's jump over to the Octospaman deck here. Very scorpionic deck. And we're going to ask specifically for you about Mercury retrograde. What is the little mantra here for Pisces in Mercury retrograde? That was quick. Don't waste your time waiting. Interesting that we've got this. I'm actually seeing this as the head popped off, and this snake, these two snakes, as like the ribbon being broken, and the heart upside down at the heart. See that? Don't waste your time waiting. I'm kind of feeling that this is more like don't waste your time with people who are clearly violating your boundaries. I feel like there wants to be another. Or waiting for someone who constantly violates your boundaries to suddenly change. Or to, you know, being with somebody who doesn't. Okay, interesting. Yeah, because I was just about to say being with somebody whose boundaries don't really match with yours. You know, because that's another thing with boundaries. It's like, yeah, you can honor somebody's boundaries, but if at the end of the day, being with someone who refuses to take off this ribbon doesn't work for you, then that's a boundary for you. That's something, that's a need that you have that needs to be honored as well. You know, so there's this sort of like give and take thing happening here. And this is practice gratitude, but I don't think the words have anything. I mean, sure, practice gratitude, but that's that's not what I'm feeling from this. What I'm feeling from this is you, Pisces, with the fishtail. And it's like you need someone that embraces that fishtail that you have in like a like-minded way. In fact, I'm seeing that maybe you need someone also with a fishtail, and this one does not have a fishtail. Notice? And I'm looking here, if you look really close, I hope this focuses. This one is a bit suspicious of that one. And this one is kind of puppeting this one's arms in a way that doesn't make me feel super good. So I think the thing to think about here in Mercury retrograde, if this is resonating for you, is like, don't waste your time waiting for this one to grow a fishtail and understand you. If there's a fundamental misunderstanding and your boundaries continue to be violated. And vice versa, you know, if you're this one here, don't waste your time waiting for this one to take off the ribbon for you, if that is a clear boundary they've set that they don't want to do. Very interesting story here, Pisces. Pretty unique. So I'm going to keep pulling cards, okay? If this is resonating with you so far, and you know that I am picking up on your story here, stick around. At the end of this reading, there will be a little clip that shows you what that extended reading gets into. And if it's resonating with you, click the link below. That'll take you over to Patreon, where you can view this extended reading for $11.11. Read all the stuff that's over there on Patreon. It'll tell you how it works. If you're confused or have questions, reach out to me. I'm here. All right, my dear Pisces, thank you for joining me on this extra spooky Pisces November shift reading. I so appreciate you liking, sharing, subscribing. It just helps the channel to grow, and I just love y'all. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you soon. Totally shifting your perspective now here in Scorpio season. This retrograde, I think, that's the purpose of it for you, is it's going to totally shift your perspective and really bring you to a turning point in your life now. Things turning around for you in a different way. Okay, so let's ask about the Six of Cups. That was quick. Okay, yeah, the source of the storm. Love that. The source, and then we have Tempest. The source of this difficulty, you know? And it's interesting too that we've got the mind showing up and playing such a prominent role in this reading so far. And then these have been showing up to me lately as neurons, you know, neuron connections, electric connections. The way, the patterns and habits that your brain gets in of certain ways of thinking that get ingrained in there. You know, your neurons start wiring together in certain patterns the more you think in that way. And so that's sort of, and then that can cause these cycles of just like mental struggle. Okay, and so I think the Six of Cups is really showing you, giving you a glimpse into your past, whether that be childhood, also, you know, relationships, I think probably both, that's giving you the clue as to the source of this issue for you. And it's so interesting too, because we have a womb here, and then like giving birth. You know, this is about where you come from, in a sense. This is about where you come from. The source of this mental pattern for you in relationship, the source of this trouble